These are our top stories. Ministry of Health says Kenya has heightened surveillance measures of travelers into the country from countries that have reported Omicron COVID-19 variant. The woes facing DCI boss George Kinoti are far from over, with Harco declining Kinoti's request to have the warrant dropped after failing to present himself at committee maximum prison. Suspended Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwingi to remain in custody until tomorrow, when the court will rule on whether he should take plea. Talk to us via social media platforms Switch TV Kenya, Joel Chacha M on Twitter, as well on Facebook, Switch TV Kenya, and Joel Chacha can also send in an SMS via 111 444 111. On the beginning with a major focus on matters COVID-19. Ministry of Health says Kenya has heightened surveillance measures of travelers into the country after South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the detection of the Omicron variant in the country. Ramaphosa has condemned travel bans enacted against his country and its neighbors over the new coronavirus variant Omicron. Sazamunga with more details.
The heavily mutated variant was detected in South Africa earlier this month and then reported to the World Health Organization last Wednesday. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has strongly criticized the travel ban against his country, saying the country was being punished for no reason. The variant is responsible for most of infections found in South Africa's most populated province, Gauteng, over the last 2 weeks and is now present in all other provinces in the country. The WHO has warned against countries hastily imposing travel curbs, saying they should look into a risk-based and scientific approach. However, numerous bans have been introduced in the recent days amid concerns over the variant.
We call upon these countries that have imposed travel bans on our country and our other Southern African sister countries to immediately and urgently reverse their decisions and lift the bans they have imposed before any further damage is done on our economies and to the livelihoods of our people.
Ramaphosa described the emergency of the Omicron variant as a wake-up call for the world regarding vaccine inequality, warning that until everyone was vaccinated, more variants were inevitable. Meanwhile, Kenya has heightened surveillance measures of travelers into the country, with the Ministry of Health urging citizens to adhere to the rules as travel guidelines and advisory are yet to be announced.
The COVID-19 pandemic is still ongoing, and the variants of concern, particularly Omicron that's been discovered, this shall be a continuing feature as we continue on with this pandemic. The measures must continue to being adhered to: masking, washing your hands, maintaining that social distance. All those must continue. Number two is that we've heightened our surveillance activities, particularly at the ports of entry. Coming into Kenya, of course, there will be need for you to present a COVID-19 negative certificate. And then, of course, tomorrow after our NERC meeting, there will be determination when it comes to quarantine, which countries, who, where, when. But it looks like it may be possible that we will have to put in place quarantine measures. That will all be shared with you tomorrow.
Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Sazamunga.
At the same time, the Principal Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Macharia Kamau, says that the normal international travel will continue despite COVID-19 pandemic, and Kenyans have to learn to live with the disease as long as they follow the preventive measures by the Ministry of Health. The PS also adds that there will be repeat COVID-19 tests for passengers traveling through the countries that have reported cases of the new Omicron variant, and all hotels in Kenya that offer accommodation services will continue to follow the COVID-19 protocols.
We will not expect the international community to support each other to make sure that we all stay safe. And we don't believe that we support each other by locking each other out of each other's lives. We believe that we support each other by ensuring that we all have the capacity to respond and that we all have the capacity to be able to protect ourselves. This is what we believe. A variant will pop up in one country, and tomorrow it'll pop up in another country, and we can't be hysterically running from pillar to post trying to respond to all these dynamics.
We shift our focus now to the corridors of justice, where the High Court has dismissed a request made by Attorney General Kihara Kariuki to review and set aside the 4-month imprisonment of Directorate of Criminal Investigations at DCI boss George Kinoti for contempt. The woes facing Director of Criminal Investigations George Kinoti are far from over, with Justice Anthony Mrima today declining Kinoti's request to have the warrant dropped after failing to present himself at committee maximum prison. High Court Judge Anthony Mrima last week ordered Kinoti to be jailed for 4 months after he was found guilty of contempt. The top directive had been sued for failing to heed an order requiring him to return guns that were seized from businessman Jimmy Wanjigi. Meanwhile, committee prison boss Charles Mutembei has been released after he was granted a cash bail of 300,000 Kenya shillings. 11 other officers have been granted a cash bail of 200,000 Kenya shillings, while one officer who was represented by a lawyer managed to get 50,000 cash bail. The 13 individuals were arrested over allegations of aiding 3 terror suspects escape committee maximum prison. President Uhuru Kenyatta has warned the new administration police officers against engaging in corruption once deployed in service. Speaking during the passing out parade of administration police at the Administration Police Training College at Embakasi today, the president called on the new officers to shun away from all forms of corruption and embrace integrity. Daniel Anunda reports.
Security was today beefed up in parts of Nairobi during the 57th passing out parade for new administration police service personnel that was filled with pomp and color. The pass out saw a total of 2,610 recruits graduate, with 2,215 being men and 395 women. The gender difference was clearly notable. As part of efforts to ensure the security agents were on top of their game, relatives of those graduating and members of the public were barred from the event. During his address, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces warned the new administration police officers against corruption. The service has in the recent past been ranked as one of the most corrupt institutions in Kenya.
With the issue of corruption and integrity firmly lodged in our national consciousness, my plea to you today is not to allow the fruits of your many years of sacrifice wither because of graft.
Kenyatta also commended security agencies led by the National Police Service for playing a critical role in the containment of the spread of coronavirus in the country over the last 2 years.
Your acts, coupled with the immense sacrifice of our health workers, forestalled what could have been a national catastrophe.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i thanked the President for the government's continued investment in the ongoing overhaul of the security sector, saying the resourcing had transformed Kenya's security institutions to be among the best in the region.
We thank the Lord for your leadership, because singularly because of your vision and your focus, we have continued to strengthen our internal security sector.
Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutiambai and Deputy Inspector of Police in charge of Administration Police Service Nur Gabo were also present. Reporting for Switch TV, I'm Daniel Anunda.
We shift gears now to matters politics. Deputy President William Ruto has challenged his competitors to rally behind a candidate who will face him in the 2022 general elections. He says more than 10 candidates are leading tribal parties and have failed to transform them to national outfits that can further the development agenda of the country. Our very own Shilling Etich now reports.
Mimi pia kama hasla sipangwingwi. Wao wanaweza kupangwa na deep state, wapangwe na system, lakini sisi hatupangwingwi.
The Hustler Nation today at Karen residents meeting yet again to rubber stamp their resolute belief that they do not need any godfather in the political arena to be at the helm of leadership in the country.
Wanaweza kuwa na godfather, lakini sisi tuko na God the Father. Ndio. So wapunguze kidogo madharau, wapunguze madharau.
Family, the DP has hit out at his competitors, saying that they are propagating tribal politics instead of uniting the country.
Wamekuja na chama ya kona yake, na chama ya kikundi yake. Alafu mnatuambia mnataka kuunganisha Kenya. Kama nyinyi hamuwezi kukubali kuungana kama viongozi 5, 6, 10, mtaunganisha Wakenya milioni 45 kwa njia gani?
Leaders allied to the DP criticizing President Uhuru Kenyatta for abandoning his relations with his deputy. The DP was speaking to over 3,000 members of the Wamama na Hustler in what the United Democratic Alliance UDA says is an effort to actively include women in the country's political agenda.
Kama angetembea na yeye miaka 5 aone ako hivi manatuambia sasa, si angemwacha achukue mwingine.
Wamama oi.
Shilling Etich, Switch TV.
Still a focus on matters politics. Governor Alfred Mutua's Maendeleo Chapchap has today held its National Governing Council meeting, with the main agenda of it being strengthening and revamping its structures ahead of the 2022 general elections. Our reporter Lemayan Letina tells us more.
Days after the One Kenya Alliance led by co-principals Moses Wetangula showed interest of working together with Mount Kenya Unity Forum, Dr. Alfred Mutua of Maendeleo Chapchap has today announced that he supports Odinga's Azimio la Umoja.
We have agreed that we are going to support the spirit of the handshake. As we continue to support the spirit of the handshake, by President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, that puts a gap that brought stability to the country, and that as a party we are going to support the Azimio la Umoja movement that is going on, that is bringing Kenyans together regardless of tribe, political affiliation and others, so that we can work under that movement as a political party in whatever coalition that will come forth as we form the next government.
Mutua, speaking at the National Governing Council meeting held at a Nairobi hotel, stated that Maendeleo Chapchap is concerned with the corruption levels in the country and is ready to work with any coalition with the same or similar ideologies. The Maendeleo Chapchap party has called on aspirants who would wish to vie through the MCC ticket to go ahead and do so. The party also welcomes some new officials on board today.
Means myself, Dr. Alfred Mutua, as the party leader of Maendeleo Chapchap. The acting Secretary General is Wakili Wilfred Namo Mati, the tallish gentleman standing over here with a very serious face, the senior lawyer in this country. The National Organizing Secretary for the party is John Roko Wangeshi, who is an elected leader from Muranga.
The National Delegate Conference for Maendeleo Chapchap is scheduled for the 17th of February 2022. Lemayan Letina, Switch Television, Nairobi.
On to other news, Embattled Football Kenya Federation President will remain in custody until Tuesday, when the court will rule on whether he should take plea. Mwendwa was last Friday rearrested a day after the Director of Public Prosecutions closed a graft case against him. He was arraigned before Milimani Anti-Corruption Court Chief Magistrate Eunice Nyutu earlier today, where the DPP wanted him charged with 3 counts of fraudulent acquisition of public property worth 8.5 million shillings. However, Mwenda's lawyer Eric Mutua and Mutula Kilonzo opposed the bid as they did not want Mwenda to take plea. Mwenda also faces a charge of defrauding FKF of up to 29 million Kenya shillings.
Produced the suspect in court on the 15th of November 2021 where it filed criminal miscellaneous application number 3965 seeking to detain the entire process from the complaint to the arrest and arraignment of the suspect in court has been in grave violation of the Constitution, and in particular Article 47 and Article 50 of the Constitution.
Well, 14 minutes now past 7 p.m. We are due for a short commercial break, but just to remind you, today being on a Monday, a special segment of Know Your CEO is up next, and today we get to interact with Eddie Budita. Stay tuned for that. We'll not take a short commercial break. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned. Time now for business news. On this week's episode of Know Your CEO, we get to interact with Eddie Budita, the Chief Executive Officer at Stage Presence Media. Eddie is also a comedian, actor, events host, content creator, writer and producer. We talk about the Netflix deal he landed as we scrutinize if content creation really pays, and of course the later side of the comedian. Follow keenly.
Ever want to know how a CEO sees his world? Then this is how. Apart from running an organization and strategizing, their key role is to ensure there's money in the bank. Our CEO this week is Eddie Budita. Eddie, welcome to the conversation.
Pleasure.
Eddie is the director at Stage Presence Media. Eddie is also an actor. He's also a comedian. He's also an event host and so much. Eddie, what is the business that you lead here?
Stage Presence Media is a creative agency which mainly focuses on solving problems using creativity. So what we do, we create strategies, we create scripts, we create concepts for individuals, companies, and also business to business ideas. So basically we are a creative agency.
Only limited to media?
Not limited to media, because it has two aspects. The other aspect, which is limited to corporate and a bit of media. Then we have a baby called SPM Buzz. This one is the media wing now, which fully focuses on media.
Eddie, what are some of the projects you've undertaken?
Maybe to mention a few. The projects that we have. Okay, internal, we have Dubai Summer Laughs. It's a comedy event that happens outside the country. We have Eddie Budita Campus Tour, which the last one went to 20 campuses across the country, targeting over 100,000 youths. And we have a lot of projects that are in-house, but to mention things that we've done and our clients, we've worked with brands like Britam, Indomie Kenya, DKT International, UAE Exchange, Bonfire. We've had a lot of clients that we've worked with.
Eddie, comedy and content creation, is it what you wanted to do while still young?
Yes, but not young at 6 years, 5 years. I realized later in life, when I think I was in Form 3, that I've always had a passion in creating. And when I was young, I would create things, maybe remix the songs that existed. But now that was just like an activity or daily life activity, what a child will do. So to me, it was not that this is what I'm going to do. Because me, I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer. I was fascinated about how aircrafts work. So now in high school, when I go to high school the first year, so that's Form 1, I go to a school where the culture of drama and music festival is very big, and I feel like this thing is something that I've always wanted to be part of. Slowly I began building the interest of script writing. I write scripts when I was in Form 4, like 3. I still have some of them that have never been staged. So I finish high school, I'm out, and I feel like anything that I'm doing, it's gearing towards comedy. So I tried to audition for Churchill Show, and that's when I began the stand-up comedy career. So now I perform comedy, stand-up comedy at Churchill Live. That's 2011, it goes for a break, comes back in 2013. And in 2013, when we were doing Churchill Show, I realized that every time an artist needs to perform, they come and try their lines to me, and I correct them and see if we can rewrite them to be presentable. So I ended up, that was the main thing that I was now doing. And I was even given the creative director role at Churchill Show at the age of, I think, 23 or 22. I think the next creative person on that panel was about 30 or I think 29. So I was the youngest creative director, directing Churchill and the other comedians. So that's when I started taking this issue of creating seriously. And I've been doing it consistently ever since. So that's how the creative aspect built up to a point of working for Netflix as a creative and director. Yeah.
Talking of Netflix, congrats for landing a job with Netflix. How did you manage to get Netflix?
It's not something that I had pitched for, but I always wanted to work for Netflix. I've even created ideas wishing they will one day go to Netflix, but I didn't know how to go about it because I don't know even how do you start about when you want to contact Netflix. So now, this year, someone calls me and they have a job. They want to translate an American script to a Kenyan script and maintain the comedy. And they don't give me details. They tell me it's an American sitcom. Come, we have a conversation. We have a conversation. Then towards the end of the conversation, I realize, okay, it might be Netflix, but I'm not sure it's Netflix. So after everything is done, when it comes to signing the NDAs, that's when I realized it's Netflix.
Eddie, I've seen you work so hard in your career. Do you think the Kenyan content space pays?
Content creation pays only if you understand how to monetize it.
All right.
And it doesn't even go to the corporate side. It starts with where you are doing it. Even if it's on YouTube, on Facebook, there are monetization tools there. How do you understand them? What's the language that you're using in these videos? Because that also determines the number of adverts you're going to get in that video.
Eddie, the second part of Know Your CEO is called Quickfire. Now here we get to know the lighter side of you. Eddie, what is that one thing you want to tell your son while he's 7 years old?
Not depend on people. Just be you. Do something that fully depends on you. And if it makes sense, people will come.
Eddie, what is your dream car?
My dream car, it has to be Range Rover Vela.
How far is it from coming?
Maybe 2 days.
What is that one thing Kenyans don't know about you?
I don't want to say I'm curious, but I'm the kind of person who will look for information, even if it necessarily will not help me.
What's the most weird thing that you found yourself researching?
I've researched about, okay, it's so weird, I don't know if I can mention it.
You just
manhood transplant.
Did you ever consider changing the manhood?
No, there's something I was reading about how transplants are now. We are reaching to a point where everything can be transplanted. I'm like, no, there are things that cannot be transplanted. Then I research, I'm like, it has ever happened. How do these things happen?
As we come to the close of this show, please, your camera, tell the audience back at home, Know Your CEO will be back on Monday.
For today, it's a wrap. Know Your CEO will be back on Monday. Today, I was your guest, Eddie Budita.
Thank you, Eddie.
Well, that has been a very own Brand Mwenda speaking to Eddie Budita. On to other news, the Harco Industries Kenya has announced that a part of the operations at its facility in Kasarani, Nairobi is now powered by solar PV technology in a move to help cut energy costs and save the environment. The 240 kilowatts solar PV system will replace approximately 40% of the facility's grid consumption, helping reduce costs and lower its environmental footprint. The system is expected to generate over 8,200,000 kilowatts during the system life, saving over 5,000 million or rather meter of carbon dioxide. Premier Solar will also provide operations and maintenance services for the solar PV system going forward. Time to now get sporty. The Ballon d'Or will be handed out for the first time in 2 years tonight, with Lionel Messi the strong favorite to claim the men's award for a record 7th time.